Hello and welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, Coach Trent M. Clark, and welcome to 2024. I am a serial entrepreneur, international speaker, and coach to the 1%. I coached a long time in professional baseball coaching in 3 World Series, and now I coach a ton of teams up to double their EBITDA and double the value of their company in 24 to 48 months. We are an aggressive GrowCo. So love it. Love the coaching. And man, if your team is struggling right now with execution and communication for your team going into 2024, it is time to shore it up. Through simplification and prioritization, let's take that journey together. Getting your teams better, getting your individuals better, which makes the team better as a whole. Super excited about 2024 and looking forward to it. Couple fun subjects. We are not going to have a guest today on the Winners Find a Way show. The reason I call it the Winners Find a Way is that I love the quote from the 4 disciplines of execution. And it states, when winners, when shown data that they are losing, find a way to win. So, reflecting on 2023, I have really thought about that statement of that you are the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. And thinking through that, I have thought about the statement to our show and that quote. And man, it is pertinent in my life that I surround myself with winners. Winners in my life look like they are very intentional. They reflect values that are consistent with the values I reflect and care about and are aligned in that, as well as they are solutions providers. They create value for those around them. They are interested in others being valuable and being contributors to their teams, to their families, to their organizations. And that's who I consider winners. So excited about this 2024 campaign. A couple of things that I want to talk about today, which is goals. We see a lot of things that come along with 2024. The new year comes. We reflect on last year. We'd like to do some things differently, and not necessarily better, but we'd like different outcomes, sometimes better outcomes. We'd like to eliminate some of the outcomes from the year before, whether they were poor choices, whatever it is. I hear a lot of the word of a New Year's resolution. I am not a resolution fan. I am a goals fan. I am a behavioral change fan. I am about taking action and doing something about it. And I love the idea of goal setting. I had a great conversation this week and spent some time with a friend, Keith Roberts. He is the author of the Oak Journal. The Oak Journal is something that I discovered about 2 years ago, and a fellow EO member, entrepreneur organization member from the great state of Colorado. So we're appreciating all of our winter months here now. And the Oak Journal is a game changer. The Oak Journal is a very intentional way about how you set your goals, how you be very intentional about what you do each day to make your goals for the week, to make your goals for the month, to make your goals for the quarter, and ultimately stay on track to being very intentional about what you're going for. And the Oak Journal has been a fascinating journey to be on and see it work in action. One of the things that really intrigues me about the Oak Journal is that the Oak Journal is probably used by some of the best in the world. And I was reminded of a study of Harvard that talked about how 3% of Harvard graduates made over 90% of all the money of earnings of all the Harvard grads. So that's an obvious, very disproportionate amount of earnings for just 3%. And the one commonality on that 3% was that that 3% not only had goals, but they wrote their goals down each year. So I was super intrigued by that because we've taught at Leadershipity for a long time the value of winning the day. And if you win the day and you do that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of the week, all of a sudden you win the week. And if you win the week and you keep winning the days every day, then you start winning weeks in a row. And then if you win the weeks, you win the months. And then you start putting months together, and then you win the quarters. And when you win the quarters, you start winning the years, right? But it all comes back to what I do this day to maximize value. And the Oak Journal is a very key element to being very intentional about how that looks. I highly recommend it for those listeners out there. Great product. Follow Keith Roberts. He's a great speaker and is obviously created a fabulous product. So really impressed. One of the things about the Oak Journal that, as I said, we follow closely is as you write those goals down, every day I write down the 3 most important things I need to accomplish. For me, on my Oak Journal, I do my list and my journaling in the evening before I go to bed. It prepares my next day for me. I look at what has to be done, where my appointments are, who I'm looking to see, who I've got to be on a show with, who I'm hosting on a show. So it gets my mind organized. It also allows my mind to rest with an ease that I know what's coming tomorrow. If I don't do that, I often sleep more restless. Oh, what do I have to do tomorrow? Oh, I got to remember to do this. And I didn't make any notes about that, but I'm going to remember it tomorrow when I wake up 5 or 6 hours later after that. So it's not uncommon for me to lay restless when I haven't prepared my next day, and with the hope that I'm going to remember something I just thought about in the middle of the night, which is not happening. It's a rarity, right? It's just not happening. So the big thing about doing the 3 things, Brian Tracy wrote a great book, Eat That Frog. And the premise of the book is all about taking the number 1 most important thing that you need to do each day and do it first. Get it done. It's probably something you've been procrastinating on. It's important, but yet, hey, it's not happening. It's not getting done. So, and if it's a hard thing to do, you get it done out of the way and it's behind you, maybe even by 9 a.m. So there are days where my 3 items takes me till 10 p.m. at night. And there are days when my 3 items are done by 10:30 a.m. So I'm always driving at those 3 to complete my day means those 3 things are finished. I will tell you that doesn't always happen. There may be restrictions. I may need information that I don't have, and I'm not going to get it on this day because of a holiday or because the person's gone from, their office and they don't have the information where they're at. Like, there are a lot of reasons that happens, but the goal is to complete these 3 items every day. Now, a lot of people talk about spending my life with the 1% and being in that unique space. So first of all, I will tell you that I always ask a lot of people, what do you call the top 20%? And I call the top 20% hired. That's what I call them. Because if you're better than 4 out of 5 applicants, you get the job. If you're putting an RFP in together and they're only taking 5 proposals, then you're going to be better than the other 4 if you're in the top 20%. So now what happens when you go up against the top 5 or the top 3%? Like, yeah, that's a challenge. What if you're up against the best? You've got to be the best. And what I've seen in organizations is that I'm at my best if I complete the 3 most important things. Because if I complete the 3 most important things every day in 2024, I will have completed 1,095 of the most important things and highest priorities for Trent Clark, for Leadershipity, for AIM for NIL, for a speaking engagement, for my new book, Championship Leadership. Whatever those things are that I have to do, focused, it could be family, they are complete. And the power is that if I'm completing 1,095 of the most important things each year, it's not long. I told a group today of college students in a class today in Grand Rapids, Michigan, that if they simply get very intentional at 22 years old and being seniors, they can be the top 5% of success of whatever they want to be. If they follow the journal for the next 8 years, which will have them completing nearly 9,000 of the most important things in their life. Now, will that be the only thing they got to do? No. They have a degree, they're doing studying, they're going to have to continue learning. There's going to be all sorts of other things they're going to have to do. But being intentional on the most important things and learning to prioritize what those 3 things are. I see challenges with people that say, oh, the most important thing for me today is to get my car started and get the snow off my car. Like, hey, I think that's important. You got to get to work. I don't want to discount that, but I find that highly unlikely that is going to qualify as the 3 most important things that you contribute and have impact in your organization, on your team, right where you're sitting on your journey. I don't really probably believe that. So I do see people that don't have a full understanding of prioritization and value, the 3 biggest things they can accomplish. And a lot of people don't stretch and push harder to accomplish something bigger in a day. Hey, can I sell 3 items today? And if I'm working and selling in a car dealership, I'm going to sell 5 cars today. So there is a challenge I can make for myself and push that limit of having greater impact on my commissions, on my numbers, on how I support my family, because all those things go hand in hand together. So love the Oak Journal. The other thing I really love about the Oak Journal is while I am qualifying what I want things to look like at the end of 2024, in a year from now, I plan my work around 90 days. All my goal setting is focused on 90 days. And what I will do, because I'm a good visionary and I can envision what I want. I know exactly what I want it to feel like. I know where I'm headed, that at the end of 2024, I sit down, I find a quiet place, I do some journaling, I think hard about how I want that to be, start really writing descriptive things of what I envision for how that looks at the end of the year. And when I'm clear on that, it's very easy for me now to take, hey, this is what I want. And then I quantify what are the things that are going to get me there. And I can put down all sorts of things in my journal about what are the things I'm going to have to do to create the space, the freedom, the intellectual capacity to get to that place. And so I do that. And then I start backing up into the quarters of what I can accomplish in the first quarter. What can I accomplish once I get some momentum in that first quarter? I could probably accomplish a little more in the second quarter, and then a little more in the third quarter. And then I might even break even in the fourth quarter. In my business, in our business, we are more seasonal. And when we get into the fourth quarter with Thanksgiving and Christmas, our revenues tend to be a little bit less in our fourth quarter than we often have in other quarters. So I plan for that accordingly. And I am backing in to my revenue numbers of exactly where I want to be and how I'm going to accomplish what I'm going for. So Oak Journal, highly recommended, from morning routines to schedule planning of your day to journaling, man, and certainly goal settings and reflection is probably some of the strongest points that are coming out of the Oak Journal. The other thing I highly recommend going into 2024 is that you will hear me a lot talk about championship leadership in the book, about how athletes and world-class elite athletes have transitioned into leadership and making impact in the world of business and organizations. And the skills transfer really well. And hyper learning is one of those great skills of professional athletes. You have to learn and adapt very quickly. And time prioritization, time management, all big things, being very coachable and listening to experts who see things that you can't see yourself, and trusting in people to give you good help, knowledge, assistance to get you where you want to go. So there are all these contributing factors that I talk about in the new book that really serves athletes, that I don't think a lot of athletes actually consider and are able to transfer when they leave sport and athletics to the business world, because a lot of training has been done in the athletic field, far more than you're ever going to get in most organizations. Far more. There's not a lot of training. There's not a lot of training people up at the corporate level. It's somewhat rare. In our industry of helping leaders and helping business owners progress to be the best they can be, the most efficient, and position themselves to get the maximum value for their organization as an owner, it is absolutely pertinent that we understand the skill sets and get trained. And for most people who are going to be in a position of leadership, we need to have the set of coaching or teaching. Often I consider those very synonymous, coaching and teaching. And we need to understand leadership. And the last I looked, most people that are at the top of organizations leading them did not go to college, did not do an extracurricular study and deep dive into leadership or coaching. But these are two massive skills that are required. As a member of the entrepreneur organization, I am always looking for being trained better. What I think EO, YPO, Vistage, YPO Gold, what I think they've done probably better than most organizations is that they bring a lot of content and learning to develop top leaders, to develop top people. And so from that, it's a chance to be trained up. It's a chance to get that hyper learning. That's often because so many people don't do much training after they're 23 to 25 years old. There's just not that much training anymore. And so continuous improvement involves learning. And so one of the things that I'm super excited about the entrepreneur organization joining and partnering as a force with Blinkist. There are now a number of apps that are out there, but Blinkist has been a go-to app for me for hyper learning. Love reading. I'm a voracious reader and reader, and I absolutely love it. And I'm trying to do more reading on physical books this year, but I do a lot of reading in Audible. Obviously, you know that I travel a lot, speak all over the world, and coach teams all over North America. And the reality is that I'm doing a lot on electronic reading. I'm doing a lot on Audible and reading books. So when I discovered Blinkist as a researcher, as a person who's always looking into the depths of things, I get book recommendations from my clients, from the places I go. I get so many recommendations. I probably average almost a book recommendation per week. That's how many times and how many books get recommended to me. So we've heard that CEOs read nearly 50 books a year on average. Well, for my time being a father in a large family and a husband of nearly 29 years, and now a grandfather who I want to be doing that really well, I'm limited on time per day that I can spend with everything, right? Running 2 companies, being a father to my children, coaching, doing all the things that I really want to do and love. So Blinkist has created space for me to be able to take a book and go through both the audio and the written word of it in 15 minutes. So now that's at normal speed. If you're an Audible listener or you listen to a lot of books and your mind goes quickly, like my mind, I often can read books and listen to books on a 1.5, 2.0 rating and have no problem keeping up with what's happening in the book. In fact, one of my favorite things to do is if I can get a book on audio and have the physical book in front of me, I will turn the book up to 2.0 and follow line by line in the book, kind of giving me the visual aid of what I'm reading, and then also hearing it from the audio track. So I really enjoy that. It's probably the best way I retain in a reading format. That's the best way I retain. So in typical fashion, if I just listen to the book and that's it, or I just listen to the Blinkist version of the book in 15 minutes, oftentimes I'm going to miss a lot of things. And the beautiful thing about Blinkist is that it's all in 15 minutes. So I will raise that up to 1.5 and listen to it. So it's frequently that I'll have a 15-minute book that I want to review, and I'll have a half an hour drive to go pick up, one of my children from church or hockey practice or a theater or something, that one of their many activities. And I'll listen to that book 2 or 3 times in succession to make sure that I'm picking up the notes. The other beautiful thing about Blinkist is I've probably pulled into a lot of parking lots waiting for my kids, and I review the notes in Blinkist after listening a couple times. And the last one, I'll go back through knowing that I can listen to it and read the words and highlight what I really want to have as key takeaways from the book. And the beautiful thing about that, coupled with a software and app program called Evernote, you can sync those 2 softwares. And so that if you make a note on Blinkist, it will save your notes in Evernote for the book. So I have probably hundreds of books in my Evernote that I have taken quick notes on and highlighted things that were really important to me that I wanted to take away from a great book recommendation or a great book I've read in the past. And I use those quotes. In fact, Winners Find a Way was discovered in Blinkist. I had listened to the 4 Disciplines of Execution. The quote caught my ear very quickly, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that quote. And I went back through the book a number of times, and like on occasion books do on Blinkist, they really grab my heart and they really grab some value for me. And I grab the book and I decide, wow, I got to go get that hard copy book because it's so good and there's so much to know that I think that I probably need the whole backstory of each chapter in the book. And so I go out and I get the book and I really start marking it up with the highlight and study the execution and study the book, so that now, not only have I read it, but now I'm ready to practice and go out and do some practice on executing what I've learned in the book and how that applies to my brands and my businesses or my family or my relationships, you name it. So that is my 2024. Let's get off to the right foot, winners. Let's go find a way to continue to have major impact in 2024 on those around us. And for all our fans out there, I'm just so thankful and blessed that you come alongside, listen in. We have great guests that just share just fabulous nuggets. Thank you for all the downloads of 2023, record year for us in downloads of the podcast. And please check out the Leadershipity YouTube channel, leadershipity.com. If you want to know any more about any of the things that we're doing, please reach out to me directly at Trent@leadershipity.com. Love to come and speak for your organization and motivate them and get them going and leave them with some real solid tools that they can take into 2024 to be their best. And now in our coaching and our Grow Coach company, we're super excited about having some roster openings in our company. We've been very busy in that space. We've had some very good success of 3 companies that have exited to a very, very, very profitable number. And each one of those organizations doubled their EBITDA in the last 36 months prior to the sale, creating double the value of their organization. And we love to see that for people's life's work, to be rewarded for that effort. And also to see one of those big itties, the sustainability of an organization. So when someone comes in and buys a well-run organization that has tons of contribution, a lot of accountability, and thus tons of productivity, they are valued very high and they are sought after and typically are paid maximum dollar. So I've got some great friends that are setting off in the sunset to retirement or maybe into investing and doing some other things, and super excited for them out there. 2024 is going to be a great year, and I'm excited to work with you. So reach out. I would love to hear from you. Trent at leadershipity.com. For everybody, Winners Find a Way is our podcast, and we are so blessed to be moving into our 4th year, having started in 2021. And I just can't wait for another great season as we move probably up to over 150 and close to our episode 200 in this new year. And I hope you'll come along with us on this journey of more great guests and a fabulous year. And we're going to do this together. So please watch for and listen to the show, Winners Find a Way, every Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, on our Leadershipity YouTube channel, Facebook Live, and LinkedIn Live. You can find our podcast on all the major networks. I can't wait to see you again next week. Fabulous guest will be coming in, which I cannot wait for. Big surprise to drop there. And 2024 is going to be a fabulous year for some super guests on Winners Find a Way. Until then, we'll see you next Friday.
Organizations come to me all the time with challenges of execution and communication with their teams. We help build a system through Bloom Growth and software that gives them simplification and prioritization. I teach, facilitate, and coach these organizations to literally double their value. If you're interested in gaining your individual and organizational growth, please email me at trent@leadershipity.com or click the link below and book a 15-minute call on my Calendly.